Good evening and warm welcome to Power News, your window to the power sector. I'm Juhi Rajput. First of all, let me bring you the quick updates from the power sector. Coal India has decided not to increase the prices of coal until the elections are over in May, after which the state-owned company may hike the price of the commodity by at least 10%. The company will take up the issue at its next board meeting after elections and will take a final call on the quantum of the rise. As part of the union government's attempt to improve its relations with Jammu and Kashmir, state-run NHPC continues to supply electricity to the terrorism-hit state despite outstanding dues of Rs 1,045 crore. Of this, Rs 625 crore is due by over 6 months. India's largest hydropower generation utility withdrew its notice of regulation to suspend electricity supply to the state over unpaid dues. According to the law, utilities are allowed to regulate or discontinue power supply if dues have not been paid. The Supreme Court has told producer NTPC Limited to continue supplying power to New Delhi while it waits for money it is owed by a distribution company, avoiding a possible blackout in the country's capital. State-run NTPC had threatened in February to cut off power supply to BSES Yamuna Power, one of the 3 distributors in Delhi, if the company did not pay its bill. But the Supreme Court reiterated that NTPC must maintain power supply even while it is owed money and ordered BSES to pay the dues it owes since January 1, 2014. Suzlon Energy, world's 7th largest wind turbine manufacturer, is planning to sell shares in its German subsidiary Senvion SE to raise Rs 10,000 crore by listing it on the London Stock Exchange. Suzlon, with a debt of Rs 13,000 crore, has been making losses for the last 3 years. It has also been unable to pay its bondholders due to the slowdown in the global markets. India's largest power producer NTPC's plan to reduce dependence on expensive imported coal by operationalizing its captive coal mines this fiscal has gone awry, with the company now revising the production schedule, hoping to get some fuel from its own mines sometime later in financial year 15. NTPC was hoping to operationalize its Pakri Barwadih captive coal block, which has already reached an advanced stage of development by December with an annual production capacity of 3 million tonnes per annum. However, work at the mining site, suspended since February 2012, has failed to start even now on account of law and order issues, even though both the company and Power Ministry have put all their weight behind the project. And now the news of the week. Short-term sales on power exchanges have slumped 20 paise a unit or 7% in the past week, following Gujarat's ban on purchase of power generated outside the state. Sales of as much as 300 to 400 megawatts were impacted last week. Short-term sales are only a small percentage of the total electricity produced and sold. Distributors procure power mostly through long-term sales under contract that last for decades. However, many generators have tried to save on long-term sales to sell in the open market in the hope of getting better prices.
There is less and less power available in the market. In fact, some of the thermal power stations are running at as low as 65% PLF, although they were commissioned fairly recently. There is also the issue of demand-side constraints, which is that most of the state utilities, distribution utilities, actually do not have the ability to purchase power. They're fairly constrained on their finances. They've gone through a debt restructuring, which was mediated by MOP, but that also hasn't helped most of the larger states, which continue to face a fiscal situation which was unprecedented in their entire lifetime. So, taking both into account, the merchant power market doesn't look really hot in the near term. It can pick up once the distribution companies improve their finances, as well as the availability situation improves. Both sides.
Power sales were already much lower than expectations at about Rs 3 per unit. This is despite the fact that campaigning for general election is in full swing, which should have increased uptake.
So that way availability is going to be better this year. So we have not seen the kind of urge to buy power, and we have seen, as compared to last year, the same quantum of short-term power is being purchased by the state. So 1000 megawatt was being purchased last year, same is being purchased this year, and about 1000 plus megawatt power is being purchased by states from the exchange, and which will happen. And with the expectation that prices will not be too high, people rely on the exchange today more than the short-term market or bilateral market.
The previous election had sparked a boom for short-term merchant power. These went as high as rupees 10 per unit since distribution companies wanted to ensure minimal power cuts during elections. The state distribution companies are not buying electricity like they did in the last elections.
Major difference between earlier periods and this period is that the distribution company finances are absolutely the doldrums at this point in time. Given that there is it's pretty unlikely to have a major upswing in terms of demand. Coupled with it, as I said, you have a supply situation also, which is most of the IPPs which had surplus capacity do not have fuel to generate. So to that extent, combination of these two will ensure that the prices remain low, even if it's an election season.
The state distribution companies are currently in huge debt and in the process of restructuring and reviving up their operations. This explains their lack of interest in buying more power than they had contracted. Here we'll take a short break, but there's a lot more on the other side. Stay tuned.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
From manufacturing of energy cables to EHV installations to renewable energy solutions to retail energy products, our technology energizes lives. Ravin, energizing lives.
भरोसा, हिफाजत, मजबूती, कौन हर कोने में समाया होगा, कौन हर रोज तुम्हारे भरोसे पर खरा उतरेगा, किसके साए में गुजरेगी तुम्हारी जिंदगी। एक नाम जो देता आया है भारत की हर इमारत को बुनियाद, अब उसी पे खड़ा होगा आपका मकान। जिंदल स्टील एंड पावर पेश करते हैं जिंदल पैंथर, सच्चे सरिये की पहचान, पैंथर का निशान।
मैं नहीं सोऊंगा, मेरे बेड के नीचे मॉन्स्टर है।
रोहन, मॉन्स्टर्स रियल नहीं होते।
होते हैं मॉम, वो रात को मुझे हु हु करके डराता है।
अच्छा, अगर डर लगे तो लाइट ऑन कर देना।
अंधेरे में स्विच कैसे ढूंढूं? अगर मॉन्स्टर ने मेरा हाथ खा लिया तो?
अभी सो जाओ, कल देखते हैं।
Switch on to Monster Gone. L&T switches, easy to locate in the dark. The only switch with a 12-year warranty.
Power Grid Corporation of India, the central transmission utility, world-class integrated global transmission company with dominant leadership in merging power market, ensuring reliability, safety and economy. Power Grid, building a smarter grid.
Welcome back. The central government has held wide-ranging talks with state government officials from Assam and civil society groups in a bid to push the pace of building the 2000 megawatt Lower Subansiri project in Arunachal Pradesh and preempt threats from Chinese plans. The country's largest hydroelectric project being developed by state-owned NHPC Limited has become a test case for how efficiently India can implement its strategy to harness the hydropower resources of Arunachal Pradesh, while countering China's plans to divert river waters that flow into the Brahmaputra.
Of the 7,912 megawatt capacity awarded through 8 projects, only Lower Subansiri has reached the construction stage. The project's progress has been hampered by blockades in Assam that have affected the movement of building material to the site.
The anxiety or the fears may be unjustified. So there has to be a better communication from project proponents as well as both the governments involved, that is Government of Assam, Government of Arunachal, as also Government of India, about the so-called dangers of the projects, how they are being mitigated, what measures are being done, how exactly the project has been designed, etc. I think it's more a lack of uh, let's say, a trust deficit, lack of communication that has led to a situation like this.
Over the years, the state has been the site of violence orchestrated by rebel groups such as the United Liberation Front of Assam, the National Democratic Front of Bodoland, the Bodo Liberation Tigers, and the Muslim United Liberation Tigers of Assam.
In case of Subansiri, there has been an issue of interstate dispute on territory between Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. That led to all these issues, and combined with that was the other issues regarding the safety of the dam and the environmental releases which were required to have a regular flow during the lean period, because of which there has been agitation in Assam. But now all these matters have been settled and the demands of the Assam government have been met, and I hope it will take further construction in near future.
In order to facilitate transportation of equipment to the project, a consensus is being built through tripartite discussions between civil society, the government of Assam, and the union government. The talks include sweeteners such as increasing electricity allocated to Assam. Of the 8 river basins in Arunachal Pradesh, Subansiri, Lohit, and Siang are of strategic importance as they are closer to the border with China than are other basins.
So if we have a slightly larger view at a strategic level in the concerned ministries such as environment and power and water resources, and come to a consensus that out of the technically feasible projects in this river valley, let us take up these ones and then support those projects fully by following infrastructure interventions like roads, telecommunications, evacuation, etc. Then I think we'll put hydropower development on a better and even keel, and we will not have hiccups during the implementation or preparation of these projects.
India's desperation to complete the Lower Subansiri project comes in the backdrop of China's ambitious $62 billion South-North water diversion scheme of the rivers that feed downstream into the Brahmaputra.
You see, we have planned 3 major schemes, one each on these basins. One was Subansiri, another was Lower Siang, that was about 2700 megawatt project by JP, and third was Lower Dambe, that was about 1750 megawatt project in the Lohit region. Other projects also in these basins have also been allotted, and the government has taken steps to ensure that these projects get the priority and they are done in a very fast track manner. But somehow all these projects are held up on one account or the other. Lohit region Lower Dambe project was stuck up for environment clearance being delayed, and similarly for Lower Siang also they could not arrange the public hearing, so the environment clearance has been stuck up. Lower Subansiri has been stuck up mainly on law and order situation and the Assam government not being favorable to this particular project.
A high-powered technical experts committee was constituted under directions from the Prime Minister's office to help start work on the strategic project. In order to get the Assam government on board to quell any future opposition, the committee recommended that the union government give Assam the first right on 300 megawatt of unallocated power from the project, in addition to the present allocation of 208 megawatt and free power of 25 megawatt.
We have to execute as many projects as possible on all these basins, 3 basins mainly Subansiri, Lohit and Siang, to lay our claim so that the diversion of water doesn't take place. So we should take steps to ensure that these projects are completed well in time.
New Delhi is also focusing on the development of water storage projects awarded in Arunachal Pradesh to manage the fallout from China's plans. It also plans to allot at least one major project each in Subansiri, Lohit and Siang basins as close to the international border as possible. It is also developing the physical infrastructure along the Brahmaputra river basins, having identified roads, bridges and air connectivity that need to be built.
When I was in CMDH of NHPC, I had started Subansiri project and almost 50% work was completed. There was no problem at all because as CMD of the NHPC, I was having close contact and liaison with the government of Assam, people of that area and Arunachal Pradesh. After all, chief executive, who is leader of the organization, he must have proper understanding of the subject so that he can have proper liaison. Unless you have a good leader for hydro projects, the projects can't be completed. And after my departure, what has happened to NHPC? This should be got examined. Government has a lot of inquiry agencies like CBI, CBC, many things. Who is stopping the government? Government should know that while this organization is not working, which is very important for developing especially hydropower, which is the backbone of power sector in this country.
This particular project is illustrative of the larger problems that we are facing. In presence of a very strong civil society, dam building is increasingly getting difficult in democracies. In India, these issues are difficult to resolve due to the central-state relationship. The way forward is to take states into confidence, reach out to the civil society groups and build consensus. It's time for another short break. Keep watching Power News.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
Jal, jal, jal.
जल से जल तक, मेगावाटर से मेगावाट्स तक, SJVN Limited.
Power Finance Corporation, the most preferred financial institution, providing affordable and competitive products and services with efficient and internationally integrated sourcing. PFC, partnering the reforms in the Indian power sector.
Welcome back. India's power deficit has contracted to a record low of 3.3% in February as compared to 13.7% in the same month last year. This, however, does not mean that there were no power cuts. Consumers across southern India, parts of Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana faced long outages in the past 11 months. While power distribution companies were unable to buy, generation projects were underutilized and about 30,000 megawatt capacity is stranded due to lack of buyers. To talk further on this and other issues, we have with us Mr. Siddhant Mehta, CEO DPSC Limited. Good evening, Mr. Mehta, and welcome to Power News.
Good evening.
Mr. Mehta, even after several years of power reform, DISCOMs still have poor financial health. Combined loss of all DISCOMs was almost 2 lakh crore last year. What do you think could be the reasons for the same?
The reasons for the high loss is that the DISCOMs have not been able to speedily implement the RAPDR scheme in their area. Though there are investments available from the central government, there are certain high loss areas in each DISCOM which should have been implemented and reduce the losses, which the DISCOMs have not been able to do. Coupled with this is the subsidy that is given to various agricultural and other areas, where apart from the subsidy, one would not object to the subsidy, but one would not object to the subsidy, but one would also ensure that there is no wastage of electricity. The subsidy to the agriculture sector has arisen in lot of wastage of electricity and water which could have been avoided, thereby the losses could have been reduced.
According to you, which are the most critical issues of power distribution sector which needs to be addressed on urgent basis?
The most important issue today in the power distribution sector is the difference between the average cost of supply and the average cost of realization. This stems from the fact that the cost of generation due to fuel has been increasing, the cost of employees have been increasing, the salaries and other wages and the O&M charges, long length feeders in the rural area, the dilapidated network, and also the theft, which is getting more and more rampant. Therefore, technologies like implementation of LTABC, the HVDS system in the rural areas is going to go a long way in improving the loss levels and improving the DISCOM healthiness.
Mr. Mehta, what is going to be your wish list from the new government that comes into power? As in, what all changes are you looking for in policies?
I would expect the new government to look at the power distribution reforms in a faster way, number one. The second, I would expect the new government to look at the coal policies and ensure the healthiness of the power sector, because many of the plants today are idle for want of coal. So, coal issue is to be addressed very quickly. Also, the distribution reforms have to be expedited. And thirdly, all the facilities like the RAPDRP scheme, the Rajiv Gandhi Yojana scheme should be made available to the private sector also when they come for private sector participation, so that the entire country power scenario improves much faster.
How do you see the trend of bringing distribution franchises in various states?
I see a growing trend of distribution franchisee coming in the next 2 to 3 years. In fact, the recommendation of the Shunglu committee is already pending. There for implementation, and post the elections, many of the states would go in for the franchisee scheme.
DISCOMs claims that power generation costs have risen mostly due to higher prices for coal. Coal companies, despite inefficiencies and fall in production growth, have been allowed to make large profits. Do you feel power tariffs should reflect the power purchase cost?
In fact, 80% of the power of the distribution cost come from the power generation cost, and therefore any impact that you have on the generation directly affects the consumer. Therefore, it is most important the efficiency of the coal sector and the production level, and also a certain amount of consideration for power sector must be given, so that the people are power is made available to the people at a cheaper rate.
Thanks, Mr. Mehta, for joining us in Power News.
Thank you.
With this, we come to an end of this episode of Power News. Keep sending us your suggestions and views at info@indianpowernews.com or call us on 011-405-60701. I'll be back next week with more news and updates. Till then, goodbye and take care.